Well, joining us for this very special interview is Anurag Jain from CarDekho. The company has turned unicorn back in October and has been on an aggressive spree to expand its overall portfolio and grow its business in India. Thank you very much, Anurag, for joining us today on the Daily Dispatch. I want to begin by talking to you about the buzz in the whole used car and the second-hand car market. We're seeing a lot of companies turn unicorn, lots of action out there. What do you think is driving this kind of demand for used cars, second-hand cars? What's the market looking like?
First of all, thank you, Pia, for inviting me for the show. So to come to a question, used car basically has been kind of the forerunner for growth of vehicle sales in India. And if you kind of look back, India is very highly underpenetrated in terms of number of cars per 1,000 people. And from a global comparisons, India is just about close to 20-21 cars per 1,000 people, as compared to developed economies where the number goes as high up to, like, let's say 600, 650. So with that data, there's a huge headroom for growth. And in the pandemic period, I think people do realize the importance of having their own vehicle and having a safer mode of transport to travel. And not everybody has the budget of buying a new car. So new car is also growing in sales numbers, which is kind of constrained by supply chain constraints right now. But used car is basically a readily available commodity in the market, which is why it is kind of seeing a huge surge of growth and people wanting to buy used cars. What is lacking is basically trust on whether this car is a lemon or it's a good car or not, which we are trying to solve in our best capacity.
Tell us, Anurag, about pockets of demand. Where is demand coming from in India? Is it the tier 2, tier 3 cities which are mostly looking at, used cars as a market largely? What has been your experience over this last 1.5 years? Because I believe the pandemic has accelerated the whole market at large.
The demand is kind of uniform everywhere. And obviously the bigger cities drive larger volumes of demand. And so Delhi, Mumbai are kind of always the front runners in terms of number of vehicles sold. So it's a function of how many vehicles basically. So used car is basically, you're not manufacturing a car, you are reselling a car which already existed. So the type of cars which were sold like 4 to 5 years back, the average ownership is about 4 years in the country today. So the cars that were sold around 4 or 5 years back, they basically usually come for again selling back in the market. So what sold 4 years back basically becomes the market today. So it's kind of an inferred market, not like a market which you can create. And the cities basically are kind of, there are a lot of new first timers who are wanting to kind of buy a car, migrating from their two-wheeler or a public transport. And there are also some people who are kind of buying a second car for their, let's say, family, where they feel that it is not going to be driven more. So let's just buy a used car and kind of budget ke andar apne aane ke baad gaadi aa jayegi basically. So that's what kind of is driving the phenomena in the cities.
So tell us a little bit about what the growth plans are for the company going forward in terms of maybe 3 or 4 focus pillars that's going to be driving growth for CarDekho at the end of FY22.
So CarDekho, I don't know if you're aware, but we are kind of a structurally very different company. We have a very successful new auto business, which is #1 in the country today, and it's a profitable business for us. And we also have an insurance business called YourStory, which is a country's leading. We're a good second in the country with almost 130 crores of premium being collected every month. And we also have a financial lending marketplace business, and we create a book of almost 300 crores every month in that financial marketplace business. And for that reason, in fact, banks have tied up with us for almost 17, 18 banks and NBFCs have tied up with us, and top leading banks have invested into the company also in some capacity. And obviously the most exciting business that we are looking for is the used car business, where we kind of foresee the huge growth and almost most of the fundraise that we have done will go into building up of the used car business. So structurally, we are kind of very stable with the auto being an ecosystem play for us. So most players are kind of either solving for new cars or used cars or insurance or finance, lending or other things. But we are doing an ecosystem play where each business is basically assisting the other business in terms of either customer acquisition or doing some value add from a customer's perspective, where he can come to a one-stop shop and get his problems from an auto domain perspective solved.
Right. Give us some key metrics in terms of what your targets are at the end of FY22. If you could give us some indication in terms of revenues, in terms of numbers that you may be working with.
So we are currently on a run rate of more than 1,000 crores in commissions, not GMV, but commissions that basically get attributed to us. And the plan is always to kind of grow as fast as possible. The mantra of the company that we kind of create huge targets for us and then try to hit the targets in the moonshots that we have.
Right, Anurag, this is a very interesting market out there because, at one point you have Droom, which is going ahead with listing. They filed a DRHP, and this is really a golden time for a lot of internet companies to go ahead and list on the stock market. So what kind of plans do you have out there for CarDekho? Is that something on the anvil?
So IPO is definitely something that we are also eyeing for. Maybe between 12 to 18 months, there should be some movement around that thing. And the market is hot right now. And I think a lot of people are kind of rushing into the IPOs, but we want to kind of be stable with our things when we kind of hit the shores.
Right, so 12 to 18 months before an IPO, but any plans to raise any more funds before that? Because I do believe you all did raise some funds a couple of weeks ago, but plans to raise funds because you have aggressive expansion and growth targets as well.
So we have just raised more around $235 million, Priya, and we are well capitalized as of now. So let's see how it goes. It depends on how we are scaling, because inventory is going to be a huge working capital cost for us. It will depend on the scale that we get, whether we want to do another fundraise or not on the IPO story.
But in terms of expansion, is there any roadmap that you've built out for the company?
So in used cars, we are basically now opening CarDekho Malls. It is something, a large store format, which no one has done in the country so far. And in this, you'll basically typically, let's say in a city like Jaipur, you'll have a 500 cars used car retail showroom, a huge yard where there'll be a huge selection of cars, so that customer has convenience of walking in, and basically he does not have to go dealer to dealer looking at 5 cars, 6 cars, and then trying to decide what he wants to buy. So he'll find everything that can fit within his budget or segment. And this store format we have started doing in Jaipur and NCR, and we are going to be expanding this to almost 18-20 cities in the coming year, which is where the expansion money will also go. This will basically create a huge differentiated experience for the customer, where he can get his used car with a huge selection, insurance, finance, everything done under one yard, which is the CarDekho Mall.
All right, Anurag, we wish you all the very best in your growth journey, and thank you very much for being a part of this very interesting conversation. I'm sure the audience listening to us will have a lot of insights on the used car market and CarDekho's plan going forward. Thanks for your time.
Sure, Priya. Thank you.